Introduce her tonight.
And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Cut. I am Anthony Oquindo, and I am joined with my co-host, Tom Roth. Say what's up, Tom.
What's up, guys? How are you?
And today, it's just us two, no guests. So we get to sit here and talk to you guys directly, and we're going to talk to each other. But we want your input, so follow along with us today. Please let us know in the chats if you have any questions or anything to add to the show. We greatly appreciate it. We love the interaction. But today, we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. First thing we're going to talk about is the Department of Energy has basically agreed that COVID was manufactured in a lab and somehow got out. And we're going to talk about that and how social media kind of suppressed anybody who even brought that theory up before, it really went public and hit the news. We are also going to be talking about antiquated movie theaters, or whether or not they are antiquated, whether they're going to survive the test of technology with all these streaming platforms and everything else that there is to offer. See if it's something that's we're gonna kind of hold on to as kind of a, do we love it enough?
Yeah. No, and also like getting into that too. When we get into that, I mean, I think it ties into the COVID discussion very well because it is a direct reflection on, or COVID had a direct impact on the state of movie theaters today.
That's true.
So, yeah.
That's true. And then we are also going to be talking about Florida and Governor DeSantis and the Don't Say Gay bill or law that was passed and signed, and how that has to do with Disney. And I think those are some pretty good segues. I mean, we're talking about COVID affecting movie theaters, and then Disney, which makes movies.
The biggest entity in entertainment.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah. For sure.
Not just film, but television, everything. So.
Yep. So let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, Department of Energy. They have kind of made a declaration that they believe that the COVID lab leak theory may be a possibility.
I mean, duh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, even Dr. Fauci said it at the beginning.
He did.
He said it looks engineered.
Mm-hmm. No.
And like we had talked about in the intro, a lot of social media, Twitter, Facebook, if you even brought out the idea that COVID was manufactured in a lab and somehow released to the public, it was blocked. Mm-hmm. You may even end up in Facebook jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your Twitter account suspended.
For sure. Happened to me once.
So, I mean, I guess this is more or less like we need to talk about misinformation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about living in America is that you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
Right.
Whether you're right or wrong.
Whether you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's not like China where if you say something, ironically, we're talking about China. It's not like China where you say something wrong, you literally will get killed. Yeah. Right. But in America, there's consequences when you say something. Right. So I can go out right now and say that Joe Biden ate a bag of dicks for breakfast, right? I can.
You
say
can even
that.
write a story about it.
I could even literally write a story about it. But there could be a consequence for my action, whether that's a legal consequence where like I get contacted like, hey, you got to take that down, or a consequence could be some of my left-wing friends, those who lean to the left, the Democratic side, could choose to not agree with me and maybe attack me, but still, I'm not going to be prosecuted for my thought there.
Well, I was going to say that. So that when you said, legal action, they could contact you and tell you to take it down. I mean, not really. Freedom, First Amendment, freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now if you're like inciting violence or
yes,
go force feed Biden a bag of dicks. I
mean, force feed Biden a bag of dicks while I hold a gun to his head.
Yeah.
That could be something that would get you in trouble, right? But it's not going to get you killed. Right. So the thing is we have misinformation on social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter being the most prevalent because those are the ones where you can actually write a story, mm-hmm. right? Instagram, you can write whatever you want in a caption, but it's not necessarily about, like, Instagram isn't like a political driven platform, I don't feel. I feel that's more for just sharing things. Instagram's one of the more pure quote unquote things. It's not really, because I mean I can look up big titties right now if I want. But,
Yeah.
You know, but on Facebook and Twitter, it's much more politically driven anymore.
Twitter more so than anything.
More so than anything, Twitter, especially when Elon bought the company.
Yeah. Well, I would say even before that, it was a very political. Like.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So misinformation is going to get out there. I mean, misinformation is just a part of getting the correct information, right? Sometimes you have to be wrong or say the more egregious shit to get to the bottom of what's actually true, right? So you had, when COVID first hit, like you said, Dr. Fauci came out and said, you know, this probably was put in a lab, you know? And then it got to, oh, it came from a bat or a pangolin, you know? An animal transmitted it. And it almost made me think that's fake, because the AIDS virus, you know, if you read the book The Hot Zone, which was published in, I think, like the early 80s, late 70s, was about AIDS. And
was that a Fauci book?
It was not.
Okay.
But it was a book essentially saying how AIDS and HIV were transmitted to Homo sapiens through a monkey, essentially, through intercourse.
That was a story.
That it was a real thing. It was like kind of like one of like those informative books, not like it was a nonfiction.
Okay.
Right? So, to me, when I heard that, I immediately thought of the Hot Zone, because I was like, there's no way that another global pandemic's coming from a fucking animal, right? It was engineered, in my opinion. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard all of it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's engineered. And it got out, either on purpose or by accident, and now we're dealing with the fallout, right? But we're in a time when people can have access to other people at the drop of a hat. It's
Right.
not like 1987 when, you know, AIDS was becoming at the forefront, or like 1991 or 92, one of the two, when Magic Johnson was diagnosed. You know, AIDS became more of an awareness thing because Magic Johnson went on the Arsenio Hall show and basically said, you know, this is what I have, this is what happened, and that's how it got out there. But it was through television, right? Our new purveyor of information isn't necessarily the television anymore; it's the phone screen,
True.
right? Or the laptop screen or the tablet screen. And misinformation is just a common part of life now. But I feel that with COVID, they wanted to guard everything, dude, because it was such a volatile situation,
Very politicized.
very
situation.
politicized situation.
And I mean, you could see people take sides. You had the right, who they consider like COVID deniers, was all a hoax or whatever the case was, and then you had the left, who was, you know, everybody needs to wear a mask and everybody needs to get vaccinated. So it's almost like COVID fearmongers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, they were.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you had extremes on both sides, and it was a very, very hard line divide between the two groups.
It absolutely was.
Yeah. Yep.
100% it was. You know, me being someone who leans more left than anything, I recognize the need to protect other people, right? But you know, I'm reading stuff, you know, because all you can do is educate yourself, right? And it's on you in a global pandemic, or if you're betting sports, or if you're, you know, if you're just trying to find out where the best place to eat is. It's on you to garner that information. It's not up to other people to feed that to you, right?
Right. And you know, it's so. I mean, that's a good point. So, misinformation. You're gonna have people who are bashing a restaurant. I mean, you brought up restaurants, so I just think it's a good analogy. So you have people who are bad mouthing restaurants, saying they have bugs or whatever. They don't wear hairnets or whatever the case is. And maybe there was one instance where that happened, but in general, you know, they're clean, sanitary, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So that one post where somebody says, "Oh, they've got bugs, they're dirty," whatever the case. I mean, that could be labeled misinformation.
It absolutely could. It absolutely could.
You know.
So it's on you, your own individual basis, to ascertain what you believe. Now, prime example. My sister-in-law, Diana, she's a great girl. I love her to death. She's my sister. I'd do anything in the world for her. She'd do anything in the world for me, right? She is a staunch denier of COVID. She doesn't believe it's real. She didn't follow all the guidelines, but she never like shoved it down anyone else's throat, right? Okay. And I respect her for that because me being a little bit more left leaning, I was wearing a mask. Like when she would come over, I had my mask on the table, my washable one. Megan had hers, and Megan I think wore a mask because we have Wyatt, who's like I wouldn't say immunocompromised, but Wyatt can't communicate with me if he's not feeling good. Right. So I think that it was just more following, hey, we're doing this more for the kid than anything. Even if it's not real, let's err on the side of caution.
Right.
But in Diana's case, she doesn't have a kid at home. She had her dog, and it was on her to make that decision. But she never force fed me her information. She allowed me to, go and find what I believed. Mm-hmm. And she was there to maybe, hey, I don't agree with that, so maybe you should look at it from this angle. Now, I'm all for that, with people politely, or maybe not, maybe politely isn't the word, but people cordially giving you their information, their side of their opinion on it, What I'm not for is for people shoving it down your throat. Right.
I agree. I think that's kind of a general rule with anything.
But general rules aren't accepted or aren't in practice anymore, man. I mean, we talked about this the other week. So think about when we were younger, when Barack Obama was in office or George Bush. There were people that didn't like Obama or didn't like George Bush, but you could have a civil discourse about it, and you could agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. But now, with President Trump, when he came in, became very divisive, right? Now, hey, man, Anthony, I don't really agree with what you're saying about Donald. And this wasn't an actual conversation or actual instance, but, Anthony, I don't agree with what you're saying about President Trump. I think that you're wrong. All right, Tom, well, fuck you. And people would lose friendships over that shit. Man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's the era that we're in now. That's the era. We're in the era of dropping friends. We're in the era of compromising beliefs. We're in the era of instant gratification. Mm-hmm. And it's instantly gratifying to say, if I don't agree with you, well, fuck you, dude. Because then I don't have to deal with what you're saying. I don't have to critically think anymore. Because I truly think it's because our attention spans are so low now that we don't want to invest in a conversation where we can come to that agree to disagree any longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's kind of weird that, as far as like Facebook, mm-hmm. I haven't lost like any close relationships as far as, for politics, but there are quite a few people that, I was friends with on Facebook. We met, we've hung out, whatever the case, worked with some of them, mm-hmm. and we just get into Facebook disagreements, and like 5 days later, I go and look at their profile, and we're no longer Facebook friends, or they completely blocked me altogether, and it's kind of weird. Like I don't know. I've never blocked anybody or deleted anybody because of a political stance. Like the only time I'll ever delete or block anybody is if they're straight dickheads. Like they call people out of the name, which I'm not the type of person to, we can have a disagreement. I'm not going to call you out of your name. Not going to throw insults at you. But some of these people, like, they just get so fucking worked up. And, even if you brought some information to the table that was different from mainstream media, mm-hmm. they tell you you've got misinformation. Even though you've looked at some of the research, some of both points of view, you've done your own research and you've come to the conclusion that this may be a possibility, and you can show that to them all day long. But if the narrative or the big picture is that's misinformation, it doesn't matter what the fuck you say, it's going to be labeled misinformation.
It absolutely is. And the other thing to go off of that is, we are in an era where information is just at literally our fingertips. Mm-hmm. You think about the phone when we were 5 years old. The phone literally was made to make phone calls. Now, that is the afterthought with having a phone.
Agreed.
Now, the stance on having a phone is getting information, right? So we're literally at that point in this chapter of humanity where we are able to get our opinions, we're able to formulate them, informed or uninformed, for better or worse, right? The worst thing about that, though, is how people can weaponize misinformation, right? So think about when COVID first came out, right? If you are overweight, if you are, old, if you are
underlying health issues,
I was literally reading, you're going to die. It wasn't, hey, you're more susceptible at first. It's, you're going to die, right? So me being overweight, of course, I get afraid, right? My mom has chronic pneumonia, right? My dad has had fucking 4 heart surgeries, and he's old as fuck. So immediately I'm thinking to myself, well, there goes 3 Roths right out the door. You know what I mean? Then my mom gets COVID. And this is right at the time when all that information's out. Like, you're going to fucking die. Dude, I don't think I can properly articulate how afraid I was for my mom. Right? Like, my mom's, she didn't go to the hospital. She didn't have to. But I was so fucking scared, dude. Like, because of that weaponized misinformation. I truly believe there was a deliberate attempt at scare tactics at the beginning of this by, I don't know by what side, but it was politicized. And it was so unfair to do that to the American people, man. Like, and I say American people because, let's face it, we live in America. I'm a very empathetic person. I do care that, Italy or England, Australia, they were all hit by all these problems, right? I do, but I don't care about Giuseppe out in fucking like Naples. You know what I mean? I care about my mom in Ashtabula, and I don't think it was right that people deliberately weaponized misinformation to scare people.
Right.
Because we didn't know what we were dealing with, man. That's the fact of the matter. We didn't know what we were dealing with.
We didn't, and I'll be the first to tell you. Whenever when COVID first hit, there were a lot of state mandates or whatever the case, and a lot was really unknown. So I took some precautions, when dealing with the public, like in my store, appointment only. At first, I was doing home visits to repair devices, whatever the case, but that was a lot of work, and I couldn't do it by myself, and it was just me at the time. So eventually, I opened for appointments only. Customer would stop in. I would handle their obviously I had the mask on. I would handle it with gloves. I would wipe it down after I was done using it. I have a little iPad in my shop that customers have to sign, agreeing to allow me to work on the device. Anytime they would touch it right afterward, I'd wipe it down, and it was a lot, to be honest with you. You had to have the 6 feet rule, so I had a line taped off, to keep 6 feet from the desk for the next person. It was, I took some precautions because it was unknown. So, but after doing research and, just kind of checking numbers and statistics, it was pretty clear to me that, some of it was pretty overboard.
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
But at first it was all misinformation. It was all misinformation. You could say only old people are dying from it, and it was labeled misinformation. But we know now that to be true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other big part of the COVID scare and misinformation was the vaccines.
Yeah.
Now, I initially viewed it this way. Everyone said it was rushed. The vaccine was rushed, and we don't know what is in there. We don't know this. We don't know that. And my immediate answers to all that from the people that were saying this to me, and listen, I respect the viewpoint, because, at the end of the day, it was a personal choice, right? I mean, it was personal choice on what to believe, and I'm not gonna knock you for what you believe because it's you, man. Like,
Right.
but the thing is you don't know what's in that fucking burger from McDonald's that you eat twice a week.
That's true.
You don't know what's in the fucking tattoo needle that in your sleeved up.
But you
know
trust
what I mean? But you trust the tattoo artist to put that in you, right?
Right.
You trust the manufacturer at McDonald's to make that fucking Big Mac for you, right? And the other thing is, say it took 4 years for them to make a COVID vaccine. Well, we have all this technology. How did you not do it faster? You know what I mean? So no matter what, the vaccine was never going to win. We never gave it a chance. And I don't think it was fair to the people that decided to get that vaccine. Because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who got that vaccine.
Oh yeah, same.
And not one person put me down for not getting vaccinated.
Yeah,
I was never put down.
I think it was honestly, man. I think it was just everybody on the internet.
It was keyboard warriors, dude.
Yeah.
It was the keyboard warriors. You
So-
got two major warriors in America. You got the Golden State Warriors
And the keyboard warrior.
and the keyboard warriors.
We used to have the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, R.I.P. King. But he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately.
But anyway, so what do we so now that the Department of Energy is even kind of on board with the possibility that this is a lab leak, I mean, do we see mainstream media kind of change? Do we see them changing their tune?
I don't know if we see them change their tune, but what I do think we see is I think that we see mainstream media retract statements. I think that we see mainstream media maybe get a little bit more. I think we see them get a little bit more careful with what they say. And I don't know if this makes sense where I'm going with this, but to me it does. So at the beginning when Fauci said it was definitely a lab, and then the mainstream media started reporting that it wasn't, and it was from animal or this, that, or the other, and then started slamming, I don't know if you remember, but maybe this is just a fever dream for me, but they were slamming China, right? Like China's people, not China's
Right.
government, their people. I think that we see them now, maybe in the future with like, God forbid, a future pandemic. I think maybe they wait to really report on what they know to be fact, quote, and maybe now say, hey, this is all speculation, but this is what we're getting right now. Because at the beginning, if you remember, they were out there saying this as fucking fact. You know what I'm saying? Like,
See, and I don't think we'll see a change.
you don't think we will?
And the reason I don't think we'll see a change is I think mainstream media, or I should say,
The lane stream. Shout out Donald.
I think they're more concerned about being first, breaking a story first.
Oh, sure. Because that's
So-
what's going to make you money.
Right. They don't care so much about being right as they care about getting the story out. They'll give you half truths and they'll call it fair.
That's a fair statement to say. That I can definitely see what you're saying, because what's the biggest win in American news? Being the first one to report it, right? So I remember the Harvey Weinstein situation. Okay. At first, they just said Harvey Weinstein harassed women. Well, that was a fucking lie. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't harass women. He fucking raped them. Right? Like, so, no, it was a half-truth. Because, yeah, rape is probably the worst form of harassment. But they didn't go in depth with it at first. They wanted to be the first fucking people to break that story. Like, Harvey Weinstein's in trouble, right? But they didn't come out and tell us exactly what it was. You know what I mean? Like, or like think about when like LeBron, right? LeBron coming back to Cleveland. It wasn't LeBron coming back to Cleveland. It was LeBron might be leaving, right? So that's a half truth right there, because yeah, he was leaving, but you don't know where he's going yet, right? So all those news outlets were reporting LeBron's leaving, and LeBron is still fucking playing basketball. You know what I mean? Like, or an even more intimate situation closer to home, like Deshaun Watson. you remember at first, Deshaun Watson molested women,
Yes.
right? He's a sexual predator. He's a fucking rapist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it comes out, and I'm not dismissing what happened, but there's a big difference between raping a woman and asking her for a massage and exposing yourself to her. Both are bad things. Both are things you probably shouldn't do
Both
if
will
you're a
get you on
respectable person. The sex offenders list.
Yeah.
You could. But there's a big distinction there. Because rape is, as I understand it, like from
it's
being
a violent act.
it's a violent act of insertion.
Right.
And that's what I learned when I did jury duty. Okay, so there could be other terms. But that's what I learned from the court of law. Rape is when you forcefully insert yourself into someone.
Right.
Okay? Deshaun Watson didn't forcefully insert himself, and no woman came out and said that he fucked him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it did come out that he coerced massages and exposed himself. So there's a big difference. There's that half-truth, and everyone was up in arms. Hey, I'm not a Cleveland fan anymore, right? Initially, I was one of those people because when I hear rape, I think about Ben Roethlisberger with those women in Pittsburgh and how we just fucking, for years, Rapelessburger. That's what Cleveland fans called him.
Yeah.
You know? So now, oh yeah, we're going to get this dude who's a rapist. Fuck this, man, I'm out. You know, but then I do my research.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you know, hey, 23 women probably aren't all lying, but, you know, there's probably a very small percentage that are telling the whole truth. So your opinion can change. And that's the other thing, man. People, especially with COVID, well, you didn't believe that at first. You were the person telling me this, this, and this. Well, hey, man, opinions are allowed to change.
Yeah.
People
I agree.
can change.
And that's one of the reasons I love even having discussions with people, because I honestly would love for my opinion to change.
Mm-hmm.
I would. How do I want to put it?
You'd like to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because all right. So maybe not so much that not that I want my opinions to change. I want my ideas to be challenged.
See, that's awesome.
Yes.
Because not a lot of people want their ideas to be challenged, man.
Yes.
They want that singular focus, right?
Yeah, they want to live in an echo chamber where everybody's going to agree with them and everybody's going to live in some blissful, utopia. But see, if somebody has a differing opinion, I want them to come at me with everything they have to see if I really believe what I believe based off fact or based off of emotion. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it.
But see, that's the nice part about being able to have a discourse, right? Being able to have a discussion with someone, or being able to, especially in this era that we're in, it's very hard anymore to find anyone who is willing to have an idea challenged, to have, to be able to be coerced to change, right? Mm-hmm. And I challenge anyone watching this to really take inventory of yourself, right? Am I that person that can allow my opinions to be changed? Or am I that person that has to live in that echo chamber with yes men or yes women, right? So when you said that, I thought about that TV show The Office. Have you ever seen it?
Some.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't
so
it?
Michael, Steve
Faithful
Carell.
Office
Well, I
watcher.
am.
Yeah.
But so Steve Carell, Michael Scott,
Yes.
he's a goof, right? And he loves when people love him, right? That's what he wants. He wants to be that boss that people love. Mm. He wants to be friends. But then Ed Helms, the guy from The Hangover, Stu from The Hangover, comes in and he's a character named Andy Bernard. And Andy, when he's introduced, he says, hey, I'm going to get in with the boss by repetition of names and echoing what they say. And eventually, Michael, who loves that someone's agreeing with him, finally says, I think Andy's just a yes man, and it pissed him off. So even that person that wanted to be loved by everyone and everyone agree with him and have this idyllic life finally understood, like, hey, it sucks when I just have a yes man around me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's fun at first, man. Think about it. I've been in situations where people are just agreeing with me, and like it feels fucking great, dude. But then eventually it gets old because like, are you guys just
saying
it, like, or do you really believe it? You know, like.
Yep, and I think there's a problem with people blocking you or deleting you off of social media for basically having a difference in opinions. And I can understand some of them. You know, sometimes I come off kind of strong with my opinion, and you know, I haven't done it in a long time, but I could literally sit there for hours and just have
I used to love when
Facebook
you would do that.
discussions.
I used to
It's been a
love
while.
reading it. I used to love reading it. I remember there's a girl we used to work with at Verizon. She has an older sister, and we went to high school with both of them. And she posted something, and you had a Facebook discussion with her, and obviously you're one of my very good friends, and I know her, and I respect her a lot. But dude, like that conversation that you guys had, like I felt like that Michael Jackson gif where he's like sitting and he's eating the popcorn. I was like, dude, like this is great because you're both strong people. You both have conviction about you. And to have that unwavering conviction on both sides, I feel some people view that as negative. But I view that as a great thing because when it's two people that have strong convictions opposing each other on an opinion, that's what makes us go forward.
And I feel like there was never any disrespect between us.
There was never.
No.
I'd like that you knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
There wasn't disrespect. It was, you're going to have your opinion and I'm going to have mine.
Yeah.
But that's great because the easy thing to do is block someone.
And she ended up blocking me eventually.
She did.
Yeah, but
she did. But I don't think it was from that situation.
No, not that situation.
No.
Another one down the road.
Down the line.
Was actually very, very mild compared to some of the conversations we've had in the past. I was really surprised that she blocked me, but
yeah, but
it is what it is.
If you're watching it, give Anthony another chance. You know,
Jamie.
He's a good guy.
I'll say her name. I don't care.
I think she's a great girl.
No, she is. I really
girl.
like her, but you know,
she's fun.
If it was less stress on her for her to block me, whatever. Just don't get yourself caught up in an echo chamber where only people that agree with you are, you know, filling your friends list. Because
that's the thing, dude. When you surround yourself with nothing but yes, man, all you do is get yes, and you can never progress. Yes doesn't necessarily lead to progress. I have progressed more in my life from hearing no than I have hearing the word yes.
Sure.
So car sales, right? I hate going back to it, but
takes 10 no's
to get a yes. And those are the customers where you refine your skill, you refine your approach.
Right, exactly.
I had a horrible fucking month this month. Probably one of my worst months in sales in probably 5 years.
Jeez.
But I'm not getting down on myself, dude, because at the end of the day, I learned so much from all these customers that are maybe rebuilding their credit or not understanding the interest rates or, you know, negative equity in trades that I now know how to, maybe not know how, but I am understanding now how to combat that. Okay, well, hey, we're working with some negative equity in our trade. If you were lending out X amount of money, and now I just introduced an additional $5,000. Would you feel comfortable lending out that to your friend? Probably not, right? So what we need to do now is we need to come up with an idea, a solution to that. And the only solution that we have here working with this is for you to come up with some money. So why don't we explore that, right? Rather than saying, well, how much money are you putting down? Nothing? All right. You know, like, because that's not effective.
Yeah, it's not. When you can make them understand, it's a lot easier.
That's making someone understand something is key to any form of progress, whether it be making a car deal, whether it be to repairing their phone, whether it be to selling a home, to reconciling a difference of political opinion, you know?
What's that saying? If it don't make money, it don't make sense?
If it don't make money, it don't make sense.
Let's flip that. If it don't make sense, it don't make money.
If it don't make sense, it don't make money. That's 100% right. That's 100% right. And I mean, we're talking about money. I feel that a lot of the stuff with COVID, especially the misinformation, at some point was financially driven too. It had to have been.
Oh, dude, that's a whole nother time. Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, think about the money people lost during COVID.
Think about the money people gained.
I'm one of those people. I gained a lot of money during COVID because the NADA of Ohio decided that car dealerships were an essential business, which I agree with.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, name a business that's not essential.
Strip club, porn store, Toys R Us, Foot Locker, Bath and Body Works.
Foot Locker sells shoes. You need shoes.
Yeah, but I could go on Amazon to get that shit.
You could go on Amazon to get a lot of shit.
You could.
You can go to Carvana and buy a car.
But is Carvana going to repair your car?
I don't know. I don't think they do.
They do not. So a car dealership was essential because essentially of the fact if you need to get your vehicle repaired, we got it. And you can come in here. If you broke down on the side of the road and you needed a car right then and there, well, we got them. Right? So thank God for the owner of my company going in there and arguing for us. And that's what I profited off of COVID. And not maliciously. You know what I mean? There was not and I could say this confidently, at my dealership, my dealer network, I should say. Network meaning
the company.
The 36 stores that this gentleman owns.
Right.
There was no maliciousness in what we were doing. We were not that dealer network that was marking up cars $4,000 over MSRP. We weren't doing that because that's not I don't think that's what any of the values that our leadership has. And I'm very thankful for that because I want to make money. I'd be lying to you if I said right now that I wasn't happy that paycheck was rolling in and I'm just like, oh, fuck, dude, like I got cash, you know? But at the same time, when those fucking stimulus checks came in, I didn't need them. And that's not me flexing or me being pretentious. I was making enough money where I didn't feel right taking that money. So what I did, I took that money, I cashed the check, and I put it in a little envelope. When Megan and I would order food, we would always order the food. We ordered more food during COVID than we did go to the store because we wanted to give that money to, dude, fucking pizza carry out at Park Road. I left a tip that was equal to, actually it was $20 more than what my bill was. Because those dudes needed it. You know what I mean? Like those small businesses, and we never ordered like Domino's or Pizza Hut. We went to local, Rosemary's Pizza, Park Road, Joey's. Those dudes need that shit, man. So, yeah, I profited, but I wasn't keeping that government money, you know, because the other people needed it more than me. The Barstool, you hear about the Barstool Fund?
During COVID or what?
Yeah.
No.
So Barstool, you know what Barstool Sports is?
Yes.
So Dave Portnoy, the owner, he made a fund where he would donate money to small businesses in the area. He saved small businesses that reached out to him, like literally saved them from going out of business. And you eventually you could donate to the Barstool Fund. He set a goal for $100,000 in 2 days for people to reach. Bro, he hit like $4 million in like 5 days.
Shit.
Because he believed that that's what you needed to do. You know what I'm saying? And that one smaller stimulus check that we got, I think it was like $500 or $600.
Yeah.
I took that right to there. No bullshit. Right to there. Because how can you expect to profit, maybe not in your maybe not monetarily in your life, but there's other ways you can profit, right? You can profit on happiness. You can profit on love. If you're not paying shit forward, how are you ever going to profit in any form of your life, right? If you're Scrooge McDuck or Ebenezer Scrooge, what was the moral of that? Until he started paying it forward, he had a bunch of money, but he was poor, dude. Yeah. Nobody loved him.
See, I don't think, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but I don't think even giving monetarily is what you need to do to give back.
No, not all the time.
You know?
Not all the time.
So
maybe giving your time.
Some of the poorest people I know got the most money.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, they do. Because they don't know about that shit. But I'm trying to tie it into COVID and that misinformation with, people just kept thinking that people were out to get them. And that's all you saw, right? you didn't see, like you didn't hear about the Barstool Fund, right?
Right.
Not a lot of people did unless you followed Barstool Sports.
Yeah, which I didn't.
You needed, you didn't, the misinformation was is that everything was miserable during COVID, but there was some beautiful shit going on in our world when we decided to connect.
I don't think we ever connected.
I think a lot of us did, dude. I think a lot of people did.
I think we connected in some very small factions.
Nowhere near what we could have.
It was nothing like 9/11.
No,
After 9/11,
fuck
you know what
no.
I'm saying? Like, I feel like there was a lot more division during COVID than actual connection.
I would agree politically there was a lot more division. But people calling their parents who they may have not talked to over a disagreement in years, that happened again, man. Because you didn't know if you were going to see tomorrow. You know what I mean? I called a buddy of mine who I hadn't talked to. He has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, right?
Okay.
So progressively his muscles, everything shut down, and it's a death sentence. It's Lou Gehrig's syndrome, essentially.
ALS.
ALS. It's a more severe form of that. And I called him. We had a disagreement when we were in college, and I told him I never want to talk to him again.
Oof.
I called him
During COVID?
during COVID because I the first thing I thought was Britain. If Britain gets this, he's gonna fucking die,
Yeah.
and I can't have that. I need to tell him I'm sorry. He didn't pick up, so I found his mom's number in my phone because he was in our fraternity. So all the fraternity brothers had his mom's number in case something happened to him, right? Called and, oh my God, Tom, hi. And I'm like, hey, Miss Roush, like, you know, I just wanted to get a hold of Britton. I know with everything going on right now, I just really needed to talk to him. I found out that he died,
No shit.
that he had died a few years ago.
Oh, before COVID.
Before COVID. And that was tough, you know what I mean? Because it took COVID for me to reach out and find out that this dude who I loved, man, passed away. Like, and that fucked me up inside. So I think shit like that kind of put, and I hate to get off the top, but it put me on the path of changing my interactions with people. Like, hey, I'm not going to let petty bullshit
Bother you.
bother
Yeah.
me anymore. Fuck it.
Or stand in the way of.
Stand in the way of it,
Yeah.
man. So I think maybe that happened to some other people, and maybe it brought them closer together, you know? But speaking of being close together, you can go to the movies, and you can sit with your buddies.
Now, yeah.
Now you can. You weren't able to. But now,
Was the movie theater essential?
no.
They were closed.
They were closed. Because, dude, you could fucking, you had HBO Max, and I thought it was the greatest fucking thing in the world because, hey, man, all these movies that were coming out in the theaters that are Warner Brothers movies, you can watch on HBO Max for free. So I'm like, fuck yeah, dog. You know what I mean? Like, dude, there was like 30 movies that came out that year that like I was excited for that I could watch in the comfort of my fucking home. Eating a pizza, drinking a beer, pausing when I needed to take a piss, coming back. Little did I know that spelled the end of the movie theater as we knew it.
I kind of felt that coming when COVID first hit. There was a lot of things that were going to change. And honestly, I think the movie theater thing, I don't know. We've talked about this in the past. I hardly go to the movies, so I couldn't care less, really, if they didn't really exist. I think it's cool to go see some movies, like we talked about before, if you wanted to go see something like 3D IMAX or something. But that's a completely different experience than just going to the movie theater and watching a movie.
I agree, kind of. So, in 2019, when Avengers Endgame came out, so the end of the Avengers as we knew it, right? Now I don't know how reversed you are in the Marvel movies or whatever.
Not very.
Okay, this is the end of this saga. Everything from Iron Man 1 until... basically when it started with Iron Man 1 in 2006, ended in 2019.
Right.
I don't really fucking care if you haven't seen it because it's been 4 years. You should have seen it by now. Iron Man dies at the end. Captain America goes back in time. There's no more Steve Rogers Captain America. You know, Thanos is dead. You know, but you will never replicate at home the feeling of in that movie theater. There's a point in the. Have you seen Endgame?
I have not.
Okay, there's a time in Endgame when that's the title of the movie, the final one.
Yeah. I watched the one before that.
You watched Infinity War.
Yes.
Okay, so Endgame is the sequel to that. There is nothing, and I will challenge anyone in the comments later, whatever, that will replicate the feeling of being in the theater on opening night when Captain America, everyone's down, everyone's beaten up, and all of a sudden you see fucking lightning. And Captain America, they pan over to him, and he's holding fucking Thor's hammer. I'm getting goosebumps. And Thor goes, I knew it, because like they alluded to it in Age of Ultron that he could lift the hammer. And he goes and he starts beating the shit out of Thanos. And everyone in the theater is fucking jumping up and clapping and woo, like, because you didn't see it coming. You're never gonna replicate that again, right? You can't do that at home. Yeah, if Megan's watching it with me, she might get pumped if she sees it the first time, But seeing 100 other people cheering and acting all excited, or when at the end when Tony Stark dies, right? And they're at the funeral and you hear people fucking crying because the character meant that much to some people, right? I heard people sobbing, crying.
I could see see where that would be.
You're not going to replicate that at home, dude. Like, and in my opinion, COVID changed the movie theater industry forever. And now we're at the point where to get people back, AMC is offering tiered seating prices. You have your premium seats, you have your general seats, and they all cost different amounts of money, right?
Okay.
It's packages. And maybe if you buy the premium, you get a discount on the popcorn and a discount on the pop. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is cool. But that's the point we're at, right? Like, we have to entice people to go to something.
They have to change up the formula. They have to change up the formula to see if they can get
back to what they were.
One of the big things is the movie theaters where you can go sit down, order some food and drinks.
Silver Spot Cinema. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's getting pretty big.
That is getting big.
Which I think that's a cool twist, but it
is a nice twist.
I think for the old traditional movie theater style, like what we have here in Ashtabula, it's going to be gone soon.
It will be. And the thing is there's a lot of movie theaters that are surviving not on new movie releases, but they're surviving on that nostalgia factor.
We'll go ahead. I'll let you finish your point.
So there's a movie theater in Cleveland. It's one of the oldest movie theaters in the state of Ohio. At Halloween for the past 3 years, on Halloween weekend, let's say Halloween's on a Sunday, starting on Friday, you can go and pay $20 for a ticket. They play Halloween movies 24 hours a day until
Halloween.
Monday morning, midnight Sunday, because Halloween's on Sunday, let's say.
Right.
When it's the stroke of Monday, it'll stop. Like the last movie finishes, it's done. You can come and go as you please as long as you have your ticket. You get discount on food. And dude, the theaters are packed when they do that. That's dope. They're making money on that, dude. Like,
if they're selling concessions, oh yeah.
They're selling concessions. But the other thing is I think that people are so into wanting that big block. Like, Marvel ruined movies. Marvel ruined the movies. Because now everything has to be that big spectacle. It has to be.
I don't think that was Marvel that did that, though.
Who did that then?
I would say Avatar.
You think Avatar did that?
Fuck yeah, dude. Avatar was huge.
Avatar was
probably
big.
the second. It's either the first or second grossing movie.
It was the first. It was the first, and then Avengers Endgame came, and then it surpassed that. And then last year, 2022, in November, Avatar re-released in theaters before Avatar 2, and then brought it back to the highest grossing of all time. Now Avatar 2 is in I think it's the highest grossing movie of all time now. But it had to become the highest grossing movie of all time to break even.
Yeah, to even make any kind of money.
How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
Like James Cameron's asshole.
That's a huge production, dude.
Yeah. His
that's
asshole, literally, you shove a rock up there, there's diamonds coming out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I think Avatar is the one who started like the big theatrical
experience.
Production. Yeah. Because I mean, shit, you had Avatar, Avatar 3D. You had like,
IMAX
3D. Like they were pumping the shit out of Avatar. Any kind of experience you wanted to have in Avatar, you got it.
You got it.
And then now you go to like, where is it, like Universal or something, and you can have like an entire Avatar experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You can. So, okay, let's go on that. Avatar ruined movies because it made it seem like everything had to be a big spectacle. I don't think everything needs to be a big spectacle at the movies, man. Like, sometimes you want to go just to feel something.
you know what I'm tired of?
What?
The movies, they keep re-releasing the same shit. The releases for 2023, my wife was reading them off the other day. Movies that have been out for 30 years. They're remaking and re-releasing. And nothing new, nothing original, nothing
The problem is that
out of the ordinary.
you don't hear about those movies, right? So there's a movie with Brendan Fraser. Remember Brendan Fraser?
Of course I do.
Yeah, he's back.
The Mummy.
Yeah, he's back. He made a movie called The Whale. You ever see Stranger Things?
I've watched a little bit of it.
You know the redhead chick? The little redhead girl, Max? She's that Billy, that school bully Billy. Mm-hmm. He was the Red Ranger in the Power Rangers movie.
Okay.
He plays his little sister, Sadie Sink. She's in it. And Brendan Fraser, it's a low-budget movie. It's about a dude who was married, had a little girl, just found out he was gay, went and got with a dude, got broken up with. He ballooned to 600 pounds. And it's about him coming to terms with himself and getting his daughter's forgiveness. It's not by any means a big production. It's probably cost $10 million to make, and probably $6 million of that was Brendan Fraser's salary, right? But it's a beautiful movie. But that doesn't get the press, dude, because it's not that James Cameron big.
It's not a remake, is what it is.
It's not a remake or a re-release or a
that's
reboot.
What I'm saying. That's what I'm so tired of seeing the same movies remade and re-release, and it's just. I want to see new movies.
I would love to see a new movie. I would love to see something new, a fresh idea.
But I think the remakes are what's keeping the movie theater in existence still.
It is. It is, because what would you rather do? Right now. Anthony, I'm taking you to the movies right now. We can either see this movie, The Whale, which I just described to you, or the new Batman movie's out. New actor playing Batman.
Every time.
Yeah. Like, you're going to want to go see Batman, I bet.
Maybe. I'd have to see the trailers.
Yeah, that's fair, but the trailer's badass.
On both of them?
On both of them. But Robert Pattinson's playing Batman. The Joker's showing up. It's a 2.5 hour long movie, and there's promises to be like 4 twists that you don't see coming, and that's advertised.
And what was the concept of The Whale?
Gay guy, dude leaves his wife, figures out he's gay, balloons to 600 pounds, and needs to forgive himself and have his daughter forgive him.
Is it a comedy or a drama?
It's sad as fuck.
Not a comedy?
No.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to go see that.
Exactly.
Sounds sad.
Exactly. People don't want to feel shit anymore when they go to the movies, man. They want it. That's what the difference is now, right? Because back when our parents were kids, it was all about feeling shit because they didn't have the CGI. They didn't have the fucking $100 million budget to fucking make you feel something. They had to rely on the actor conveying that shit, right? So now it's more disingenuous almost because you're looking at it like, all right, well, I'm either going to go see Captain America kick the shit out of some Nazis for 2 hours, or I'm going to pay the same price and see a movie that's half as long, and I'm probably going to be depressed as fuck. Whereas back in the day, it was, hey, there's these 3 movies that are coming out. All 3 of them are about the same quality. Just depends on the actor you want to see. You want to see Billy Crystal? Do you want to see fucking Woody Harrelson? Or do you want to see Wesley Snipes? Take your pick. Okay, the 3 are going to be good. So that's kind of what it is now, man. And it's sad, but I really think that we're getting into that era where the like you said, the movie theaters are going to die.
Yeah,
they're going to die.
Maybe like you said, the IMAX experience.
IMAX won't.
Shit like that. But
IMAX won't. Because IMAX is mainly used for documentaries.
Yes.
Mainly used for documentaries.
Yeah, if you go to the Science Center, you can watch like World War II and like Normandy and
Bro, I watched the Caves one.
oh, that'd be sweet.
Dude,
Do you know what
freaked me out.
trips me out every time? They'll put you in there and then they'll take you like some kind of bird's eye view, like from a helicopter, and you're like flying through these mountains,
Yep.
and you're like, holy shit! Like I fly FPV drones,
Yes.
and like
And you fly planes.
yeah, but like getting up there with a drone, you would think it would be very similar because I've got goggles on and I've got like a point of view perspective, from the drone, like what the drone sees.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. It's not the same. IMAX is so dope because you can just look all around you and it's everywhere.
Imagine being on mushrooms when you saw an IMAX movie. Tripped me the fuck out.
That would be pretty interesting.
And I didn't know I was on mushrooms.
Oh,
Thanks
shit.
a lot, Dave. Not Clemens, the other Dave. That tripped me the fuck. We saw Avatar actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been cool.
It hit me. What you know the point where they're flying around and you see those floating islands?
Yes.
Imagine that seeing an IMAX 3D and you just fucking realize that something's wrong. I cried in a theater full of people. And Dave leans over and goes, "Stop, you're fucking embarrassing me." I was like, "Oh God, no." But yeah, that was fucked up. But so where do movies go from here? Is it just released to your home and you can pay
man.
$30 to watch it one time? What happens to home releases? What happens to physical media releases? It's a domino effect.
Well, the only shitty part about some of that is you don't physically own it.
Correct.
You can, let's say it's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
You can watch it on Disney, what is it,
Disney Plus. Greatest thing ever.
You can watch it on Disney Plus. You can even download it for offline streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But if Disney Plus ever says, nah, I think we're done with Disney Plus,
You don't own it anymore.
you're fucked. You can pay, the $3 or $4 to rent it, or you can pay the $20 to buy it and download it.
But what happens when you go offline?
Exactly.
Snowstorm, right? Internet ain't working, but the TV's working.
Yeah.
Now that's the nice thing about my Xbox. For years, I remember the buy sell trade. Mm-hmm. You know buy sell trade. You work right by it.
Yep.
I used to have this thing when I was a teacher that my ex-girlfriend and I would do. We would, at the end of every month, we'd save like $20 a paycheck, each of us, and we go to the buy sell trade stores in Youngstown or Menor or wherever, and we just buy random fucking movies on Blu-ray. Random shit. And she was a whore, but the experience was fun, right? And now I have...
I'm clipping that. She was a whore, but the experience was fun.
She was a whore. But the experience was fun because I exposed myself to films I'd never seen before. And now I have all those movies at my house. So now, even though I might be offline for a day, like the internet's down, I can still turn my Xbox on because it's a Blu-ray player, and I have Crank with Jason Statham, and I can watch that shit.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie, by the way?
Negative.
Yo.
Crank?
Yo. So, you know who Jason Statham is?
Yes.
So, he's a hitman. And the Chinese mafia, the Yakuza, they inject him with this poison that his heart's going to stop if it doesn't stay above a certain beat per minute.
So he basically got to fucking run everywhere, it sounds like.
It ain't just running, bro. Crank is a wild fucking movie.
Is he fucking... Is that why it's called Crank?
No, I don't think he does blow at all during the movie.
That would have been a good...
He does do epinephrine, though.
Huh?
Quite a bit in it. But, he fucks a chick, in the middle of the road, just, because, people are, watching him, and, his adrenaline's going up and shit. It's a dope movie. It's fun. That's a movie... right there, that's a movie I don't think you need to see in theaters, right? But I think, some shit needs to be seen in the theater. And, we talked about, COVID changed the shape of what the movie theater looks like.
Yeah.
But streaming services are what killed the movie theater. And online has killed the shopping mall. Think about it, man.
A lot of it. I mean, we kind of talked about this before the show, but
We did, but you said
know,
save it for the show.
yes, and so I think there are a lot of things that I don't think will ever die because of the internet.
Okay.
And like you said, shoes. A lot of people want to buy shoes. I don't know anybody that likes to buy shoes online
I don't either.
or clothes.
A lot of people do like buying clothes online, though, dude. Like my
I would argue that if it's something familiar,
yeah, if it's something familiar,
Yeah,
they they love buying it online.
but I would never buy, like, if I bought a pair of Levi jeans, I
Yeah.
know what the fuck I'm getting when I buy Levi jeans. If
Yeah.
I'm buying a T-shirt from a brand that I've never worn, do I need this? Do I need this size, or should I go up a size? Or am I even gonna like the material? Is it gonna be too thick, too thin? You know, like, if it's not familiar, I'm not gonna buy it.
I agree with you, but a lot of people aren't that way because now Amazon has that Prime wardrobe. You can try it and then buy it.
Well, Amazon is basically like a big rental.
It is.
You know what I'm
but,
saying?
So think about like Macy's, right? So Macy's was in the Menor Mall, and Macy's is no longer in the Menor Mall. Now I don't know the intricacies on it. Sears too. Sears, prime example.
Yeah.
So Sears, for those of you not in the know, I feel bad for you first of all, but Sears was that place where you could go get fucking some jeans, you could go get a bed set, motherfucker, you could get you a drill press,
Yeah.
right? Like all in one fucking place. It was dope. The Menor Mall Sears was amazing, and so was the Macy's. But after a while, it shuts down. Why? Oh, because I can go online and buy a fucking drill press. I can go online and buy tools. I can go online and buy fucking Levi jeans, right? Macy's. Dude, I loved going to Macy's and going to their every section and just picking out different shit and feeling like a fucking boss when I did it, right? Now, there's nowhere around here for me to buy polo.
Not around here.
No, I gotta go to fucking Erie or I gotta go to Beechwood. You know?
You gotta go to like a Dillard's.
You got well, Dillard's in the Menor Mall. I love that place. I love Dillard's in the Menor Mall, dude, because that feels to me like the last remnant of familiarity. You go in there and it's that old school tile, it's that old school carpeting. You know, they still got the
You
fucking
got the clothes racks with the brands on them.
exactly
Fitting rooms.
fitting rooms, fucking perfume tables, cologne tables all over.
Yeah.
On the side, you got the fucking purses and like the vintage Louis V and the fucking like see-through display case. That's comforting to me, man. That reminds me of being a kid and going with my dad to the mall to get my mom that Christmas gift. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and feeling so fucking special when I would bring the thing up to my dad and be like, "You think mom would like this?" Fuck yeah, I do. Because I'm 5 and my dad says, "Fuck yeah, I do." You know, because that's my dad.
That would be your dad.
It would be. But, like, that's what reminds me of that shit, you know? And, like, I know that when that store closes for the final time, I'm not going to have that ever again, you know? And I feel bad for, like, a kid I have in the future, like me, Wyatt, and I have another, if I'm, God bless me with another son.
You know what the future's gonna be?
What?
VR.
It is going to
You're
be
gonna
VR.
have you're gonna have your avatar, and you're gonna be able to try on outfits, legit outfits,
Yeah.
on your avatar and look in the mirror. I mean, they already got somewhat of a concept like that now.
In Meta, yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna be able to try legit clothes on your avatar. See how it looks. Obviously, you're not gonna know if it fits, but maybe it'll give you an idea. Maybe they'll take like a 3D scan of your body or something.
Doesn't
along
that
those
freak
lines.
you the fuck out?
Kinda, but not really.
I am of the thought process that progress begets change, right? And the VR is a tool that we can use, and dude, the applications are limitless. Like, dude, you could literally train someone how to be a surgeon, real time. Like,
Yeah, I
it
think
would
some of that is
revolutionize
dope.
medicine. It can revolutionize sports. It can revolutionize everything, man. And it behooves us to accept this change and make it part of our lives. But the scary thing is, Anthony, I want that memory with Wyatt and if God blesses me with another son or daughter, to go to that store at Christmas and pick Megan out that gift, right? I want that for them.
Yeah.
And I want that for me too, selfishly. Because one day, let's face it, my dad's going to die one day, right? And I'm not going to have that to be able to go to a store with my dad ever again.
Right.
But then I'm a dad now, and I can bring Wyatt and my future son, we'll call him Dontarius, to go to the store with me. That's my dream name for a kid, Dontarius. Just kidding. But that's what I want to do, bro. And I'm afraid I'm not going to have that. And I think COVID may not have kickstarted it, but it certainly helped it along.
Yeah.
Certainly did.
Yeah, I knew COVID was going to change a lot of things.
It fucking killed Toys R Us, bro.
I guess they made a comeback though, some kind of comeback.
They kind of did, but they didn't. Let's not oversell what it is.
But isn't it branded as something else? Like,
it's branded Toys R Us, but Toys R Us at Macy's.
Oh, that's what it. Okay. Yeah.
But they were talking shit like it was about to come back. Like we were about to go to them warehouses again, dog. You remember when we worked at Verizon together? I would go on break to Toys R Us and I'd buy Power Ranger shit.
Yeah,
dog.
I do remember that.
Remember I brought that Red Ranger helmet in?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Vito made me, because Vito said it was so fucking stupid, he made me wear it outside to leave the store. He wouldn't let me leave till I wore it outside, walked out front.
Surprised he didn't make you sell a hum in it.
Oh, dude.
You have to sell a hum with this on.
Oh, dude. I probably could have. Hey, you ever drive a Megazord before? No? You probably feel like you would if you had this fucking hum. You remember what Pat used to say?
No.
You want your kids to die? Buy the hum. And it worked.
I mean, it was a pretty decent product.
It was a decent product.
I mean, it was a good concept, at least for sure.
Just don't tell people it's fucking free.
Yeah,
Scott. So we have one more topic on the agenda tonight. What was that?
Speaking of Disney, it would be Don't Say Gay.
There we go. So we're gonna end it up tonight with this. We've had a good conversation so far tonight.
Yeah, dude.
So roll this in. Let's go.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, Florida had some bill that was passed by their processes, and Governor Ron DeSantis had signed it into law, and it is they call it some people call it the Don't Say Gay bill or law. But essentially what it is, you can't talk about sexual orientation, anything sexual relationships. I think it was before like third grade. Yeah. So,
no, through third grade.
Through third. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, through third grade, you couldn't have any kind of, sexually oriented discussions, which I don't see a problem with. But Disney they were not fond of it. They came out against it, and of course Disney's in Florida. Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. And now there's this big power struggle that some people will say is due to Ron DeSantis trying to basically get back at Disney or force their hand into supporting it. But essentially, I mean, you might know this a little bit more about this than I do, but Disney had their own like governance.
They're self-governing on their property.
Right.
So they can do whatever the fuck they want on their property.
Right.
Now, that's not saying that Disney's going to open up a fucking school there and fucking teach kids about being gay. You know what I mean? Which I think that everyone goes to, man. It's not... I don't think let's say there's 100,000 schools in America. I think 812 of them aren't throwing sexuality in kids' faces.
Right.
There are schools that are doing that. There 100% are. And it's not fair to those kids. But let's call a spade, man. If you're going to tell a school that they can't talk about gay people or transgender people, then you better not turn on fucking Sleeping Beauty where it's all about the fucking prince kissing the princess to wake her up. No matter what, that's sexuality, dude. You know what I'm saying? Don't fucking show them Beauty and the Beast because it's about Beauty, a girl, falling in love with he's a man. He's a beast, but he's a man.
Right.
Right? Don't you dare show my kid that then. Let's make it all fluid. Don't throw any sexuality in there. But parents will say, no, that's okay for them to do. Why? Why is it okay for us to show Beauty and the Beast and them falling in love and kissing and all this shit, but it's not okay to show, maybe, and I'm not saying that I agree with it, but what I'm saying is, why is it not okay for two dads who love each other to give each other a kiss on screen in front of the kids? Why is it okay for Beauty and Beast to kiss, but not Ron and Jim?
Well, I think there would be an argument of, nature as far as like procreation. It's natural for a man and woman to be together.
But it's still sexual. The whole argument is sexual. Sexuality.
Sure. Yeah,
and procreating is sexuality.
And I think the rules should be consistent across the board.
They should be.
So I agree with you there. But that would just be my understanding,
Sure.
or that would be my guess of why people would consider it okay, because it's natural, it's part of nature,
Sure.
like that's the only way we're going to continue life on this planet
Correct.
as human beings. If
Man and woman procreate.
right, correct.
It's 100% right.
So I can see both sides of that.
My biggest thing is I don't care if you're straight, bi, gay, any of the 75 other terms
Gender,
for it.
yeah.
If you're a decent person, you're a decent person, and I'm going to get along with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about if I see a dude kissing another dude on TV. Because I can honestly tell you, if I had a son or a daughter that came up to me and said, hey, why are they doing that? Because they love each other. And at the end of the day, that's all it's about. I'd rather my kids sit and watch, not making out and fucking, you know what I mean? But like, Prince Charming and Prince Charming kiss each other, right? That's fine to me. I'm cool with that. What I don't want my kid to see is fucking a man smacking a woman on TV, right? And thinking or a woman smacking a man on TV and thinking that's okay. Because that's what I'm more afraid of.
See, I never understood why so many shows, how they put the TV ratings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or the movie ratings, rated R,
Yeah.
PG-13, whatever the case
Sure.
is.
The guidelines.
Even in some of the lower rated TV shows or movies, you're still going to see a decent amount of violence.
Yeah, you are.
But you won't see two people kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And I never understood why we will advertise or show violence, but we won't show love.
I think because, and that's a great question. That's a great question. I think that we can show violence because it's disgusting to say this, and I don't believe this at all, but I think it's easier to make light of violence than it is to make light of romance, right? So think about like the cartoons we watched, like Wile E. Coyote and the Road. I was gonna say Tweety Bird and the Roadrunner. Shit was fucking violent, dude. Like, he's like smacking over the head with a fucking anvil and shit.
Yeah.
But like
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry had the fucking most disgusting shit I ever saw in it with the fucking Mammy character. The older, chubbier black, you knew it was a black woman, running around swatting at him with a fucking broom. Racist as fuck. But that's what was accepted back in the day, right? And they still showed it because back in the early 90s, we weren't so concerned about political correctness, right? But the thing is, it's easier to make violence seem funny when it's done like Wile E. Coyote to catch that damn Roadrunner. You know what I mean? Or Tom to get Jerry finally by any means necessary. But it's not easy to make romance funny. Because at the end of the day, romance isn't. Neither is violence isn't funny either.
Oh, man, they got some pretty good romantic comedies. You got
yes.
Some of them are
but you can't
for
make...
a more mature group, but...
Yes. You can't make heartbreak funny. Right? You can't make that funny. And that's a part of love, right? anytime even if you have the most successful marriage, you're going to have heartbreak in that marriage, man. There's going to be a time when feelings are hurt or decisions are made that the other isn't in favor of, but they do it because you love that person, right? You compromise your belief maybe a little bit in some cases, whether that's right or wrong. But it's harder to make heartbreak funny. And it's easy to make Tom beating the shit out of Jerry funny, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's not a real situation. It's not, you know, you're never going to drop an anvil from a fucking cliff on a road.
Is that how they justify, like, you know, superheroes?
What do you mean?
So like Avengers, what's the rating on that?
PG-13?
It's pretty violent.
It is violent.
Yeah.
It is violent. I mean, the final battle with Thanos, man. I mean, like, he literally snaps reality and kills half of the population of the entire fucking universe.
Yeah.
And he justifies it by saying it brings a balance, right? But at the end of the day, that character, you could see both sides. You know what I mean? Like, hey, he did something so bad, but he didn't mean it to be evil. He wasn't that evil genius.
Good intentions.
I wouldn't even say it was a good intention. It was just an intention to bring balance to a universe that isn't balanced. It's not like Dr. Evil where he's trying to like fucking get the $100 billion or he's going to blow up Nevada.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thanos just wanted to bring balance to an archaic universe.
So he had good intentions.
He had a good intention, but it was misguided in a way. I mean, he sacrificed his own daughter to get a fucking stone that would help him do that with a snap, right? So I guess, like right now, there's a hot button issue where Superman, Clark Kent, has a son whose name is Jonathan Kent. They are completely different characters. Yes, they both wear a Superman suit. Yes, they both are handsome and chiseled and black hair and truth, justice, in the American way. But what happened? Well, we all know Clark Kent and Lois Lane had to fuck to make Jonathan, right? Well, Jonathan is now a teenager. And in one panel of an offshoot comic book, Jonathan rescues a dude and flies him up into the air and he's holding him. And the kid says, "Thank you so much, John." And he knows that Superboy, not Superman, Superboy is Jonathan Kent, says, "I love you." And they kiss in a comic. And everyone's up in arms about it. I don't want my kid exposed to that. I don't want this. But you're totally cool with them implying that Superman and Lois fucked to make him, and you're totally fine with Superman and Lois kissing in every comic for literally 80 years. You're cool with that. You're cool with Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson from Spider-Man. Mary Jane's half naked and they're hugging in bed. And Peter Parker's got his shirt off. You're cool with that. Not you, but you're cool with that. You're cool with Wolverine making out with Jean Grey with his shirt off. That's fine. But we're not cool with that. I don't get that. Like, it's not pushing. This guy I work with said, well, now the kids think to be Superman, they gotta be gay. No, the fuck they don't. Because it's not Superman. But it's in a Superman comic. And? It's Superboy, it's his son. My dad could have been the most racist piece of shit in the world. That's Carl Roth. I'm Tom Roth. That doesn't mean I'm racist.
Right.
But my last name's Roth. So does that mean I'm racist by association? And my dad's not racist, but at all. He doesn't have a racist bone in his body. But that's just the best example I could think of off dome. I just think that because, and I truly believe that this is what it is. I'm going to let you come at me here in a second because I know that you're going to have a good retort to this. I think that for so long, gay people were put in a closet and they fought so hard to come out of it, proverbially and literally. And now they're out and they're about and they're making friends and they're getting high profile jobs and they're influencing people in positive ways. Some might be negative, but gay people are here and they're not being marginalized anymore. And I think that as masculine men and feminine females, they are feeling threatened by that because something can step outside of what an accepted norm is and they can be successful and they can empower people. We can't take that power away from them anymore as straight males or straight females because now they are empowered. And I feel that's threatening to this masculinity and femininity. And that's why people have a problem with gay people being in comic books or being in cartoon shows and movies and kids coming out as gay in school. I think that's the problem. And maybe I'm wrong. I went on a long fucking rant.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with, gay characters in a movie or in a show. One of the really good show, you've probably seen it, How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main characters was gay.
Yeah.
I didn't give it, they talk, I mean, some of it's actually some pretty good information, especially if you do swing that way. They talk about how, pills and have safe sex and, shit like that. So, I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. I do hate, sometimes it feels like they're shoving it down your throat.
I'll agree in some instances.
Yeah.
American Horror Story this past season.
I didn't watch this past season. I haven't watched it in a long time.
It was all about the AIDS pandemic in the early 90s.
Okay.
And all it was gay people. And you've known me for a while. You know I have gay friends. You know that I'm a pretty accepting person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with any of it. But at that moment when I'm watching that show, because I watched it for like 2 weeks, I wanted to give it because maybe the first episode is just a little bit more, trying to draw you in, right? I was like, dude, there's nothing I can relate to in this show. And it just made me uncomfortable because there was nothing there for me, I felt like.
Couldn't relate, yeah.
As a straight male, there was nothing there for me other than to feel bad for being straight, essentially. Like, oh, you're oppressing those homosexuals, and that's why they had to go to those clubs and engage in activity because you wouldn't let them in yours.
Right.
And I'm like, but that wasn't me. And I feel bad, that maybe my great uncle or something was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But, dude, like, you're making the show from my age range. Why make me feel bad?
Yeah.
So and maybe that's a bad argument.
So you felt like it was kind of like...
I did feel like it was shoved down my throat.
But I guess at the same time, the story's about AIDS, which had a lot to do with the gay community.
A lot to do with the gay community initially.
So, I mean, I guess, is it shoving it... were they shoving it down your throat, or were you...
uncomfortable? Here's why I thought they were shoving it down my throat.
Okay.
Because the only two straight characters in the show were cops, and they were fucking pricks that beat the shit out of gay people. That was it. That was the only straight representation in the show. And again, not a problem, but for me, it just wasn't my bag. Like you said, sometimes it can feel shoved down your throat. That is the only instance I've ever felt like a gay thing was shoved down my throat. Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be shoved down your throat, but it's all personal at that point. It's up to you to reconcile that. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with it, you have the decision to shut it off or accept it and continue watching it.
But at no point should you ever, I feel, discount people that are different than you. We're at the point we talked about this earlier. We're at the point in society where things are different.
Mm-hmm.
And now homosexuals, transgenders, the LGBTQ, and I'm so sorry if I butchered that, plus community is now much more prevalent in our society. And that's a good thing, man. Because what happened the last time a group of people was marginalized? We had a Holocaust, right? The Jewish people were put in a Holocaust situation, which is something in history you cannot come back from, right? You can't marginalize a group of people for their sexual orientation, because my dad told me this a long time ago. Because when I was younger, I was uncomfortable around gay people. If they're happy and they're not hurting you, what right do you have to make fun of them?
Right.
They're happy and they're in love. What do you have?
Mm-hmm.
That's what my dad told me. What do you have? You're straight. You don't even have a girl that'll look at you right now.
So as
That
far
made me think, bro.
as far as some of the people who are up in arms about some of the stuff, like the "Don't Say Gay" bill,
Yeah.
and support it. They don't want. I've heard some people say, that part of the reason they don't want stuff like that taught in schools, or because they're afraid there's a social contagion aspect of it,
Okay.
where kids will, if a kid comes out, there's all the support, and it's kind of like a trend,
Sure.
and
I see
then
that.
these kids make decisions, like at 12 years old, getting a double mastectomy, and
Like Dwayne Wade's kid.
yeah, I don't pay too much attention to that, but I know whatever, is apparently
Just, it all became legal the other
trans.
day.
Yeah, I don't, whatever that situation is. But yeah, I mean, there's like a social contagion aspect to it where kids are doing it. It's kind of like a trendy thing. Oh, it's trendy to be gay or trans or queer or whatever it is. And the people who are, opposed to stuff like that kind of worry that it's going to make future generations softer. And you know what they say? Soft men create hard times create strong men, or
I know. Yeah. I've heard,
whatever
I've heard
however that
adage.
saying goes. But I think a lot of them are worried about that.
And I can see that. But the one thing I'll say to that is, we say people are worried it's a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of the day, if let's say I had a son who was 13 years old,
Mm-hmm.
or fuck it, let's say 8. Hey, Dad, what's up, bud? Hey, one of my buddies at school says he's gay, and I think I might like boys too. Okay, I see what you're saying. But buddy, we're 8. So you don't even know who your favorite football player is right now. So how can you make a decision on if you're gay or transgender or whatever the scenario he or she brings up to me is, right? Now, I respect what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying. But before you can make that decision, because it's not a me thing, I can't make that decision for him or her. I really want you to think on it, and I really want to have discussions with you. Because at the end of the day, this is a life-changing decision.
Mm-hmm.
Life-changing. And I don't feel that you're ready to make that. Why don't we talk about it, and as you become more comfortable through talking, then you can make that decision. Right? Let's talk for a while.
Yeah, well,
This isn't a decision you're going to come to tomorrow. This is years down the line.
right. But some parents are, oh honey, that's amazing. I'm so happy you told me.
Then shame on those parents.
Right.
Shame on those parents.
My first question would be, why do you say that?
Why do I say shame on those parents?
No. My question to the child, or my child, whoever it is, I think I might be gay too. Oh, why do you think that?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question to follow up with.
That's it.
Quantify your reasoning.
Yeah. Tell me why. And then you can kind of gauge right there if it's a trend or if it's something that they deeply feel.
Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of these people also think that kids are fucking stupid. when I was a teacher, I met some kids that were very profoundly smart beyond their years, man.
Some of them are very smart, but I would tell you from...
But I do not believe that those kids could make that decision at that age.
No, fuck, they can't even decide what they want for dinner.
No.
Well, I can't either, and I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
But they can't decide anything for themselves for the most part.
No.
So for them to make such a decision at such a young age, and for a parent to go along with that decision...
But I will tell you something. I don't think a parent should ever shun the child for saying that. Because,
no, I don't think so either. But I think you should be able to provide some moral support.
Yes.
But I don't think you should lean into it. Like, you know...
Don't lean into it. But at the same time, think about the kids that they come out and their parents kick them out. Or they disown them.
Mm-hmm.
Or they beat the shit out of them, dude. Like, I would rather be uneasy and unsure than for my child to ever feel less than, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not going to be comfortable. But what I am going to do is I'm going to support them, and maybe not in that act, but support them in coming to a decision eventually. And I want to help them, right? Or maybe if I can't help them, I want to get the tools that they can make the most informed decision, right? Kids will kill themselves over this, dude. Kids, and that's the most heartbreaking thing, is that those kids feel so alone that they have to unalive themselves because they aren't accepted. And at the end of the day, one of those kids could have cured cancer, man. Mm-hmm. One of those kids could have fucking came up with the fucking rocket ship design that's going to bring us the nearest Alpha Centauri or whatever, right? But because they weren't supported or felt loved because of their sexual orientation, they killed themselves. I'll be damned if I'm ever the parent or friend of a parent's child or uncle or whatever that ever allows a kid to not feel comfortable in who they are, right? You can disagree with it all you want, but at the end of the day, if my kid tells me at 16, Dad, I like boys. Cool. At that point, you're 16. You probably got a decent idea of who you are. Maybe not, you don't know wholly who you are yet, but, yo, bud, you got college in 2 years. You're going to be fucking and all sorts of shit. Girls be throwing pussy and boys can be throwing butthole. So let's try both out at that point. What one do you like more?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me, but I'm going to support you whatever, right? Because I'm your dad.
Just don't make any crazy decisions.
Just don't make any crazy decisions. Like, don't fucking have unprotected sex with like 42 people in one night and contract HIV.
Yeah.
Because we're not Magic Johnson's family. I don't have the money to keep you alive. But the worst thing I think that we can do as parents or as adults or as leaders or anything is to make someone feel less than. And I think that that's a lot of what that bill is doing. It's going to create a culture of those kids feeling less than.
I don't agree with that.
But they can't talk about it. So here's the thing.
Until third grade.
I understand.
Third grade is what? 7, 8 years old?
Yes. Here's the only thing I'm saying. If you are in second grade and you think you're gay, right? It doesn't matter if you are or if you aren't. If you have that one dad that you go home and tell him, I might be gay, and he beats the piss out of that kid, that don't say gay bill, maybe the teacher's the only fucking person that little kid can confide in. And that bill makes it so that parent has to tell the parent, that teacher has to tell the parent, right? No matter what, that kid's fucked. Because either he or she is going to get told on by the teacher because they have to. They're going to tell their parent, and the parent's going to beat the shit out of them, which is a horrible situation. Or the kid learns he has to internalize it and deals with that pain that isn't going to they might not kill themselves at 7, but they internalize and hold on to that pain, dude, until they're 16, 17. And by that point, it's just internalized. They aren't going to tell anyone. They either kill themselves, turn to prostitution, fucking human trafficking, sex slave,
drugs, whatever.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, no,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I guess on that part of the bill, I would, I don't see it as necessary. I don't, where the teacher has to tell the parent.
I don't either.
I don't see why that's.
Because if you can be that confidant,
I don't see why that's necessary.
Allow that confidant, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you can't tell your parents.
Yeah.
But maybe there is that teacher, I'll tell you what, and I can tell this with confidence, if that were in Ohio, and I was teaching and a kid told me that he was gay, and I knew that dad would beat the shit out, I'll lose my job over it. I don't care. I won't tell.
I think most teachers would.
And they better.
Yeah.
Because the first thing as a teacher, but you learn, is you're an advocate for the child.
Mm-hmm.
You're an advocate for children. I took that very seriously. Thank God I never had any situations. I taught at a Catholic school, so they're pretty fucking good people. The only person that was weird was fucking Brandon Hanna, but it's because Brandon was just a funny dude, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It was just Brandon was funny, so like he'd come in and just bust my balls all the time. That's it. But I'll tell you what, his daughter Maylee, dude, you want to talk about a smart fucking kid? That little kindergarten, that little girl was just leagues above everyone else. Her dad's a great athlete and a great coach. Maylee was a great student. Like, I swear to God, I could have put her in the 3rd grade classroom and she would have ran laps around them in math. She was brilliant. I often wonder what that little girl's up to, because I'm pretty sure when she's 21, she's gonna cure Alzheimer's.
That'd be pretty dope.
I'm pretty sure she will.
It all starts at the home though.
It does. And Brandon and Candace are very good parents. I saw firsthand.
Yeah.
Great parents. All those parents were, man. I think parents as a whole are good parents. It's just what they choose, how they choose to. I think everyone's a good parent to a degree. It's how they choose to impart their values on their kids and deal with their own insecurities that ultimately dictates. If you have a dad who doesn't agree with homosexuality and beats his kid if they come out as gay, he might not. I think that dad may be so insecure about maybe he didn't raise the kid to be a masculine male. He's more upset with himself, and he doesn't know how to internalize that, and he beats the kid. And that's fucking sad, dude. Yeah. You have a little boy in school, right? Now, my little boy being in the special needs room, he's never going to have to deal with those conversations. Right? So, but you, maybe one day, maybe not your son, but maybe he hears about something and you have to have a hard conversation with him, right? Or an uncomfortable one, right?
Oh, yeah, we've had plenty already.
Sure.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it's up to you as the parent to let your son know, hey, this is just what I think, though.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
you need to make your own opinion.
And I tell we have that conversation about a lot of things. He'll ask me about religion. He'll ask me about, he'll ask me about race. Like, he's had issues where some kids were being racist at school, and and he hates it. Like, it's to his friends, Well, it would be one of his people that he would consider a friend making fun of somebody else that he considered a friend in regards to race, but he would get pissed off at the person who made the comment, obviously, and he would come home and he would literally be upset about it. And I mean, I really don't know what to tell him. Some people are they just don't understand. They're just assholes, or they weren't raised right. Or, and I what I try to do is, because it's when you have kids who you will have your kid say somebody else is being mean, or somebody else was hurting them, or whatever the case was. But you really have to break that down, because you have to figure out, okay, were they just playing? Were they joking around and then it got too far, or what the case is? So anytime there's a situation at school and he's upset about it, when he comes home, I make him break down everything for me. Tell me the whole story. Tell me how you found out, or did you hear it, or like what happened before the incident. Like I want everything in context so I can understand the entire situation. And then I have to ask him, well, were they just playing at first and then it went too far? Like, because when he goes through it, the whole scenario, talking about it, he can kind of put himself back in that position.
Sure.
And then when I ask him those questions, he's like, you know what? Maybe they were joking. Maybe it did just go too far. Maybe he didn't really mean it like that, or
Sure.
whatever the case is, or maybe he was just being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but yeah, you have to have those hard conversations with kids, and some of those conversations are hard because you don't have the answers. Some of those don't have answers, and
you said earlier that soft men make hard times, which make hard men, right?
Soft men, weak men
Weak men.
make hard times. Hard times make strong men.
Yes.
Strong men make strong men make for easy times. Easy times make for weak men.
So I'll posit something to you, what you just said right there. Would you agree? Tough conversations with your kids make critical thinking children. So it's good to have those type of conversations with your kids, because then they can critically think, which in turn will make them strong.
For sure.
Which behooves them to, if your son has those skills at the age he is, just imagine when he's 16 and kids are going to go to parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know he's going to go to a party. You know he's going to lie to you about it, right?
Hopefully he doesn't.
Hopefully he doesn't, but let's say for the sake of conversation he does.
Right.
He's at that party, but you've taught him the critical thinking skills to assess a situation through these conversations you had with him when he was this age.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to more than likely not make those bad decisions that the other kids make, because he's going to know how to critically think and assess the situation, which sets him up at 16 to be able to have a good time, but also recuse himself from potentially something that could ruin his life.
Right. Absolutely.
Then he goes to college, or maybe he doesn't want to go to college. Maybe he follows your footsteps, goes in the military. Some men that go to the military are weak-minded. And, oh man, he's out to get me. The drill sergeant's out to get me. Well, Dad taught me to think maybe it was playing that went too far. Maybe he's just teaching me how to be strong for this situation. You're setting him up for success now through what you're doing as a parent.
Oh, certainly.
Now, there's other parents that don't do shit like that. And that's okay, though, because at some point, that kid is going to have someone who does shit like you do, and hopefully help them along, right? What we need to do, I think, instead of focusing on gay, straight, all that, we just need to focus on creating quality people. And quality people isn't marginalized to a sexual orientation or a gender role or what gender they identify as. I don't give a shit if you're a man and think that identifies as a woman. Are you a decent human being? Right?
For sure.
If you encounter my son, are you immediately going to say, oh, poor him? Or are you going to come up and talk to him and like he's a, quote, normal kid? That's what I'm going to care about, right? Mm-hmm. We need to stop thinking in terms of gay, straight, transgender, normal gender, and biasing against whatever. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we need to accept people are going to be different. And we don't need to marginalize those people. And I feel that part of what that Don't Say Gay bill is doing is marginalizing a group of people. And whether I'm right or wrong on that, but that's my opinion. And I see exactly what you're saying. And I respect, you've changed we talked about challenge my ideas and everything. You've changed my mind on some shit tonight. But what we need to stop doing is making people feel less than. We need to stop with the, I don't want my kid being exposed to that. Well, if you don't want your kid exposed to Prince Charming kissing other Prince Charming, then if you don't want them exposed to that, then don't expose them to Belle and Beast kissing each other either.
Right.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, like I said, I think if they're gonna,
Tommy and Kimberly made out a million times on Power Rangers and no one batted an eye.
I think if they're gonna call, fouls on each team, or if they're gonna call fouls, they need to call them equal for each team. Yeah, for
We
sure.
complain about those same people that say that shit have every problem in the world when it's being called against the Browns, but have no problem when it's being not called against them.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the easiest way I can put it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Many times, given football, many times there'll be a team that I'm rooting for, and I see a play happen, and there'll be like a hold or something, some kind of
holding
flag.
happens on every play, really.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna call it against the Browns,
Yeah.
then fucking call it against the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't care that it's Myles Garrett rushing them.
Or
Right?
vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Like if there's a clear foul, like how this in the stadium when there's a flag called and they run the replay and the whole crowd sees the replay and they're like, like that was a bad call. No, if it's a obvious flag, accept it.
Yeah.
Fucking take it on the chin.
Just do it, dude. Because
Yeah,
that's what makes it fair.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing. Just what's the word I'm looking for? Not integrity.
I think integrity is the right word.
Integrity might fit, but I was looking for a different word. But yeah, I just think it should be. I think it should be equal across the board.
It should be. Because we're never going to go anywhere if we're not equal. Well, we're coming up on...
Or treated equal.
Treated equal.
Yeah,
There we go.
treated equally. Because none of us are equal.
No.
People say we're equal, but we're not
We're
equal.
not.
We're not equal.
We're not.
But yeah, Tom. I mean, let's see. I think we
Almost at 2 hours?
Yeah, about.
This just got wild, bro.
So I mean, for just being us, do you have anything else to add, man?
The only thing I'm going to have to add is that we are coming to the coming up on March. We're coming up on spring. We're coming up on a time of renewal. We're coming up on beautiful shit in the outside. People are going to be able to go outside again, and with that is going to come the opportunity for pictures, for drones, for all sorts of stuff. So we haven't plugged it in a while, but coming up this spring, it's a new time. You're going to want to capture this shit. It's going to be a beautiful year. And who better to do that than Crack Productions.
Oquendo
Oquendo Productions. I got excited there. Oquendo Productions to give you photos. Maybe you're going to sell your house this spring or summer. Maybe you want to do something new that's going to enhance that sellability of your home. Do a drone fly around on the exterior and interior. You got a wedding coming up. Give this dude a call. We haven't plugged Oquendo Productions in a while, so let's get that out there. And I don't really have much else tonight. I haven't ate today, and I want to go home and eat. And,
You need to start eating, man.
huh?
You need to start eating before you come on here.
I do need to start eating before I come on here, but I've been trying to do the fasts.
Eat fast.
Yeah, or eat fresh like Subway. But I want to get home and watch WWE. I'm on a WWE
Of course you
kick.
do.
I'm on a WWE kick, dog. Like I'm loving it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and end it. Thank you so much for watching. I know somebody's been on here watching this entire thing. But we appreciate you tuning in for another episode of The Cut. I am Anthony Oquendo, Tom Roth, and we are signing out right now. Peace.